I think libertarians are people who have the sort of don't amend Section 230, it's good as it is, or it's better than the alternatives as it is position, think that big tech isn't as big of an issue, isn't as existential of a threat to basic small r Republican norms as those of us on my side of the aisle do. I think that the libertarians, the people who have the sort of Cato Institute view on this, haven't really thought about this adequately in terms of the big picture, which is what kind of country do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a country where our entire public square is mediated through a few specific companies that clearly have an ideological bias and get to decide what gets to be said and what doesn't get to be said, to the point where they're actually capable potentially of swaying elections? I mean, this is up for debate, but if you look at how close the 2020 election was, it's not unreasonable to suggest that Twitter suppressing the New York Post story about Hunter Biden actually might have swung the election for Joe Biden and Donald Trump would be president if it weren't for Twitter. So they can apologize for that. I'm happy they apologized. But the fact is they're still having an enormously outsized effect on how our government works and who our government works for. And that, to me, should be a question that makes us go back to first principles and really think about how to apply those creatively in the moment, rather than sort of mouthing the same bromides about, Section 230 being good as it is, because it is actually a question of the survival of political liberty in the 21st century in America.
I think the idea that Twitter is responsible for the outcome of the election is as farcical and ridiculous as the assertion that Facebook was responsible for Trump's win in 2016, which is what Democrats said. It was hilarious, and I thought, their obsession with Facebook as the worst thing ever, and Facebook gave us Donald Trump because like a couple Russian accounts ran ads, maybe sort of sometimes. That was totally ridiculous, and conservatives saw it as totally ridiculous. And then in the next election cycle, those sore losers said the exact same thing. We love to blame the newest technology because it's new and exciting and we don't understand it. Existential panic, always for the new thing, never for the old thing. Doesn't matter that cable news is a 24-hour disinformation network in favor of Trump or against it, depending on which channel you're choosing. Radio's the same. Every new media thing creates panic. Oh my God, our world is thrown into chaos. Actually, for my book, I found examples of like editorials in mainstream newspapers against the radio during its invention, because they were worried because people wouldn't be reading newspapers anymore. So they had every incentive to drum up this moral panic against radio.